Halito, and welcome to Native Chalk Talk, a podcast by natives for all. Here we're keeping our Native ancestors' stories and history alive, while also sharing with you our Native culture, traditions, and more. I'm Rachel Youngman, a Choctaw originally from Anadarko, Oklahoma. I hope you'll enjoy this journey with me as we learn from our Native American guests. And I hope you'll do me a favor. Feel free to like and share these episodes. I so appreciate it. Yakoki.
I feel a sense of urgency literally every single day. I'm always encouraging people, hey, record your ancestors, capture as many stories as possible so that we can keep those things alive for generations to come.
See and share our stories at togetherwe'remore.com.
You're listening to part 2 of this series.
It was a really hard time it was one thing after another. From my dad, having a stroke. And then my life just started crumbling to where it could get to you through your children. And when it comes to your children as a mother, it is the most devastating thing in life to be powerless because you can't do anything. That's what broke me down to my knees. And that's when I was at mercy with my life.
So you're dealing with these challenges about your dad and worrying about him so much. And somewhere in there you had gotten married and you did go through a divorce, but you had children. So I know that it's got to be hard when you're trying to keep it all together and you've got children to raise as well. And then you even have some grandchildren, correct?
Yes, ma'am, I sure do. I'm a very proud grandma.
That's awesome. And, I think I used to work for a place that would help with substance abuse. And one thing that I noticed was some of the most put together people could come in. Some of them looked like they had fallen apart. Some of them did not. You don't know who's struggling and who's not and why they might be struggling. And it might be like, wow, you have everything going for you. How could you possibly turn to substance abuse? And again, not knowing what those root causes are or what that slippery slope was that brought them to that place. But here you had, kids and grandkids even. And what inspired you to go, hey, I'm ready to turn a new leaf. I want to fight this and figure out how to work through sobriety.
What had inspired me to stop drinking was my grandson. He was, I would say he was about 16 months old. And my daughter-in-law had told me that I wasn't going to be allowed to see him anymore until I went into a program. And that really broke me. It's like, what worse could go? What
Right.
worse could life be at the time? And so then she told me it was my last night with him, and I said, okay. And oh man, I was just laying there so hurt. And I just, I was feeling, around that time as well, I was feeling like I had suicidal thoughts and feelings. I didn't want to I didn't want to feel the pain that I had inside of me. That was just, I felt broken. I felt so broken. I felt like everybody was against me. And it was a really tough time for me. But when my grandson had woke up in the middle of the night and he just picked up his head and was looking for me, and he scoot over right next to me, and he kissed me on my forehead, and he just laid on me and just snuggled in. And oh my gosh, that was the most beautifulest feeling I had felt in a very long time. And that is when I made a decision. Oh my gosh, what am I thinking? I can't leave my baby. Who's going to teach him how to make fry bread? And who's going to teach him our culture or where we
Yeah.
come from? And so the very next day, that's when I called the friendship house in San Francisco. And
Wow.
so my grandson, I hold very dear to my heart.
Very much so. He inspired you, gave you some of that strength.
Yes, ma'am. He gave me the strength.
And we know that it's always one day at a time, right? Like it's you've come so far and you've been sober for a while and all of that. But I don't want to give anyone the false impression that any of this was easy or that there's not still struggles. Who knows if there are or not in your case. But I think sometimes when we talk about people who are in sobriety, that it's like, oh, now all that stuff's over. We're good now. And I'm sure that, if you have any words of inspiration for someone going on that journey right now, is there anything that you would say to them?
Oh, yes. Oh, you definitely need to have a sponsor.
Okay. Okay.
uh, yes, definitely have a sponsor. And if you don't have a sponsor, you have your mentors. Make sure you have your mentors and what you want to do with where is it that you want to go in life. If you don't know, um, I highly suggest them to just to be around people that are sober,
Mm,
but also with the mental health as well.
mhm.
You want to be around positive. You want to be around people that you you look up to, that inspire you.
And just like we need mentors in business and in life, we would need a sponsor if we were working on our sobriety. And again, one day at a time. And how many years have you been clean and sober?
I have been clean and sober for 7 years. September 27th, 2015 is when I walked through those gates and I
Wow.
was happy with my life. And that was the best thing I have ever done for myself. Oh my gosh, that it's like better than graduating from college
Wow.
because
Right.
you can't learn nothing about yourself in college.
Right.
And and so I learned a lot about myself. And I learned that I was a bandit little girl. I didn't have a mom like, my friends did. And, when it came to, like the dances or
Yeah.
like
Oh,
the hair and, all that, my dad was a Marine.
so true. Right? I never
Yeah.
thought about those little things like that that would make a difference to a girl. So if I had a bottle of your War Chief non-alcoholic wine in front of me, I would totally be toasting to your years of sobriety. So excuse the shameless plug, but I am proud of what you're doing and how far you've come. Cheers to that. You've recently moved to Oklahoma, and I feel like this is chapter two in your story. So at some point you moved from California to Oklahoma, and your dad, again, who served in Vietnam, total hero, raising you kids and all that. You moved to Oklahoma to help take care of him, right?
Yes, ma'am. We moved to Oklahoma to relocate and get out of California. I wanted to change my life,
Yeah.
and also my dad wants to go back home. He's
Aw.
he's Chickasaw, Choctaw, and Creek. So
Okay.
yes, he's a Chickasaw warrior society veteran.
Absolutely. God bless him. So how do you do it all from caregiving to running a business?
Well, I would like to say first, you always have to have self-care time. And also you have to have, a good support system. Of course, when taking care of a parent is a lot. And in order for me to run a business as well, I'm able to I'm just very thankful enough actually to have my niece move out here, my sister, to, be here with my dad. And that's how everything works. And that's how I'm able to travel. But on my downtime, I'm with him and I'm able to read. I'm able to do all of the deep paperwork stuff to it.
All the business side. Yeah, because I mean, like, people don't always know, like, it's not just the fun part of selling, it's also business. Like, there's taxes and there's phone calls and oh my gosh, there's so much. So that's
There
why I was wondering how you do it all.
Well, first of all, again, I was raised by a Marine, so there was no slacking and nothing, and you always have to stay motivated. That's just how my life has been, and I am really actually thankful for my dad for every. I used to think he was hard, but he told me the reason why he was hard on me is because he didn't want me to do things half-ass.
I bet your dad's health and your own journey to sobriety has tended, like you said, to really make you focus in on your health and wellness more than maybe some who haven't struggled as much. And we need to learn that, take a page from your book.
We'll be back after this quick break. Are you looking for the perfect gift for your significant other, your bestie, or even yourself? You know you're worth it. Luxury soaps, lotions, and lip balms from Baker's Bar Soapery are 100% Choctaw crafted, and they make the perfect gifts. This work of art is their signature turquoise soap, and it's made to look like Sleeping Beauty turquoise. Do you see this gold veining throughout? And the gold marbling on top? Love it. Next, check out this apple mint custom fragrance oil soap called Say Their Name. And all proceeds go to the missing murdered Indigenous women Choctaw cause. You'll only find this blend made specifically for this soap. And yes, these are made with goat's milk, which leaves your skin feeling soft and supple. So load up on these Choctaw soaps made by Tiffany at Baker's Bar Soapery at thebbsoapery.com. But be sure to get 20% off when you use the code NATIVECHOCTAW, that's all caps, when you spend $25 or more. Treat yourself to the luxury your skin deserves with Baker's Bar Soapery.
When you and I last talked, you were even on your way to Half Moon Bay for a few days of self-care. And I was inspired by that, by the fact that you're extremely busy as a businesswoman and a caregiver, and yet you decided to make time for your health. We could all learn from that. So a beautiful part of your story is the mending of your relationship with your mom. Would you share with us about that?
Yes. Well, the mending with my mom was when I had decided to come back home. And I didn't have no idea at that time. I didn't know what I want to do with my life when I was sober. And I just had a dream, which will go into the second season.
Right?
My father came into my dream. And so that's what that dream told me to go back home.
Whoa.
And that's what I did. I went back home. I followed what was the message to me. Uh, so I brought my dad back to Oklahoma, and he was at the VA Center in Sulphur for, I would say, about, maybe about 6 months until I had found me housing. Um, but when I did come home, I had made my amends with my mom.
Hmm.
And I was able to spend 1 year with my mom before she had passed.
Aw.
And
Oh.
that was the most, I would say, the most healing part of my journey was to make amends with my mom. And because that little girl, that bandit little girl, she was able to say she was sorry. And she told me she had an addiction problem and that it was the best thing for her to do was to leave me with my dad
Hmm.
because my dad is a good man and he is. And I thank my mom. And so we made our amends, and she liked to go to the casinos, so I would take her to the casinos, and I was able to spend time with her. I lived with her for about a month, and yeah, she yeah, that was a part of my healing journey.
You went through quite a bit with her, and here you chose to make those amends. And it's the best thing that you possibly could have done, especially considering she passed away not that long after that. So kudos to you. Did she get to meet your kids and grandkids?
Yeah, she did,
Yeah.
and they were like, "This is your mom." It was weird for them.
Right. It's like,
Uh,
wait, you have a mom? Oh,
I'm glad that she was able to be at peace as well.
yeah, totally. I mean, surely the guilt she carried throughout her lifetime was a pretty heavy thing, wouldn't you
Yeah.
think?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I know that we both uh we both I felt like we both healed each other. Well, I
Yeah.
don't you could say healing each other, but I feel like it was it really helped my inner child. Yes. My mom, she mine and her relationship, I felt like that little girl again. It's
Mm,
hard to explain, but it was my inner child. Just I was happy. I felt like I was at peace.
yeah.
And I felt that, oh my goodness, this is what my grandfather had me come home for, to make
Oh
those amends
my
with my
gosh.
mom.
I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah, and did she, I assume she lived in Oklahoma, right? I mean, what part was she in of
She,
Oklahoma?
Cache, Oklahoma. And she
Okay.
lived down the street from my war chief, Quanah Parker. And so,
Wow.
yes, and so she had took me to his house and to tell him to let him know that I'm home. So she took me to his house. I walked in. I had I had my cedar and my sage, and to let him know, just walk through the house, let him know I'm home, and I thanked him for guiding me. I feel that he is guiding me. It's we could go in that the second chapter, but right now, he has been guiding me.
I believe that. And I think it's amazing that Quanah Parker has been part of your healing process. I mean, how many people could actually say that? We'll be sure to talk more about Quanah Parker. And so, as listeners could hear, Quanah Parker is more than just an ancestor to Jody. He is a part of our healing process and an inspiration for her War Chief collection. And speaking of, tell us how folks can get their hands on War Chief.
Well, they can go on my website at www.warchiefcollection.com. I had worked very hard for the prices to be affordable.
Hmm.
And that's my goal, is to get it into all of the casinos, all into the health and wellness shelves, and
Hmm.
like all the health and wellness stores. I would like my product to be on them shelves. And that's what's
Yes.
important in country. All these
Yep.
brands are coming out now, and it's like I'm the only Native American woman with the non-alcohol wine and beer, and it took me 3 years. Um, it has been a humbling journey, because I have been meeting just inspirational people in the industry, retail. Oh my goodness.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, and including you. Talking to you right now is
Yeah.
an honor, and I appreciate you having me on your show.
Oh, it's a blessing. It's truly a blessing, and get to meet someone, a Native American woman doing this and paving a way for this whole new thing. I mean, it's just we're going to continue to follow your um progress and all the big things you're doing with War Chief Collection. It's so exciting. Well, before we go, are there any words of wisdom you'd like to share with our listeners?
Yes, I like to leave off anyone. I don't want to leave off without me getting the message across correctly. Um, if you're thinking about suicide, you're thinking about relapse, you know, I'm not a scientist, but I know for me, I can only speak for me that when I did taste the beer, it scared me. And when I was doing my wine, it scared me as well. But it was a reminder that that's not the life I ever want to go back to. So it helped me for as in relapse prevention, and uh, also, and if anyone is feeling suicidal, there is SAMHSA, SAMHSA National Helpline. It is 1-800-662-4357. And you could ask for Native American recovery programs all around, I'm sure, around the U.S.
That's such great advice, and especially coming from someone who knows what these struggles can be. And you and I talked earlier about the fact that sometimes when folks are living in rural areas, there isn't always that access to an AA meeting nearby. And so I think it's great when we have these resources at our fingertips. As you mentioned, SAMHSA has a Native American program. And so we were looking for the hotline for that, couldn't find it, but hopefully going to that general hotline number that you mentioned will help folks get to the right place. You know, Jody's story is one of inspiration, and taking something that was a hindrance in her life and turning it into a successful outcome, both for her health, her future, and her legacy, and for others as well, is so impressive. I believe just as your dad is proud, your ancestors such as Quanah Parker and others would also be proud. Thank you so much for sharing your story and talents with us, Jody and Yakuki.
Thank you for having me.
Stay tuned for part 3 of this series.
Thanks for listening to Native Chalk Talk. Be sure to join our community on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and check us out at nativechalktalk.com. Stay tuned for the next episode. You're going to love it. Yakuki. Thank you, my friends.